Hey, come here. You like pro wrestling? We got a little something for you. Two fans, 3,000 miles away. We each been watching for more than 30 years. Celebrate the art form, the action, the homoeroticism. We ain't rating matches. We ain't analyzing stories. We ain't experts. We just sit down, shut up, and mark out! Welcome, everybody! It is me! It's Blade Daily coming at you with another edition of Sit Down, Shut Up, and Mark Out! And I got my tag team partner, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, the best Canadian pro wrestling podcaster in the history of pro wrestling podcasts, Joshi G. Joshi, hello.
Hey, I'm angry with you right now.
What?
Because you said that my voice doesn't sound great.
What?
So you know what? I am stepping away from this podcast, and I'm never speaking to you again. Okay, no, just kidding. But yeah, I am still recovering.
What I think is funny is that you, when people say I'm never speaking to you again, and then they say something immediately after that, it's like it's really hard to take you seriously when you say stuff like that. Joshi, you have been a little under the weather, correct?
Yes, and my voice isn't 100% yet. I know that's what you meant, I believe.
What I meant was that I don't want to fatigue your voice. It sounds fine right now.
Just take the damn dagger and...
We don't fight on the show. We fight after the show.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
Wait, should we start fighting on the show?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe we could have one episode in the future where one of us is the babyface and the other a heel and do like some kind of hilarious skit.
Joshi, this week.
Yo. Yes.
I've been watching right on time, as always. Only 5 years after the fact. I've been watching the Watchmen series that came out on HBO in 2019. I'm 2 episodes in. Hey. And I'm going to tell you, it's very good.
I told you you'd love it.
Yeah, the end, basically. It's just very good.
It is very good.
I watched a bunch of wrestling, but I know you've watched some things, Joshi. Why don't you tell us about it?
Are you ready? Okay. So I watched the Vince McMahon documentary. I know, right? How could I watch such a thing? To be honest, I feel like this was put together for a non-wrestling audience.
Mm-hmm.
We already knew about all of the crap that he's done over the years, so nothing was surprising. But it was nice to see Tony Atlas repeatedly contradict what Vince was saying. And also, I can't remember his name, but the reporter that really disliked Vince.
Oh, Phil Mushnick.
That's it, yes. I enjoyed listening to him because he just kept calling Vince a piece of shit, which is accurate. But yeah, it was nice to see some people disagree with him for a change. Although, of course, you know, his typical circle, Stephanie, Triple H, Undertaker, they all worship him. So nothing new there either. But at least we got a different perspective from those people. And honestly, I know that I will forever be affiliated with Shane McMahon now, but after watching this documentary, you actually feel very sorry for the guy. And it makes you like him. Yeah, and it makes you root for him. I mean, at one point in the documentary, I believe it was Bruce Pritchard. I can't stand him. He says that Shane is really nice and that how can he be a boss once he shows that side to people? So, you know, just like very stupid logic. And that's pretty much what a lot of people say about Tony. He's too nice. Okay, because yeah, we all want to work for an asshole that treats us like shit, right? I mean, come on. So dumb. But yeah, I encourage everyone to watch it nonetheless, just to get a better idea of how WWE came together and what Vince did for WWE. I mean, I will give him that. He did do a lot, but he also screwed a lot of people over to get to what he wanted. So yeah, all in all, I would recommend it. And I also watched the show The Queen of Villains, which is about Dump Matsumoto, and Crush Gals are also in it. It was such a terrific show.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, before you get into the Dump Matsumoto, Crush Gals auditioning and all of that, you have the beauty pair for a little while, and that was really cool to see and to learn about. I felt like after watching the show, I just wanted to learn a lot more about Joshi history. I watched some of their matches from All Japan Women's Wrestling, so Crush Gals and Dump Matsumoto's, and they were just so ahead of their time. And it's just really cool that wrestling fans in general, so both male and female, they love these women so much. I believe it wasn't on the show, but I was watching a YouTube documentary about the Crush Gals, and the narrator says that they were as popular as Hulk Hogan. It's just insane to think that women in Japan were killing it like that, and they were attracting these huge crowds, and there were so many people watching their shows. It's just absolutely incredible, and it makes me resentful when you hear people say that women's wrestling was revolutionized by WWE or in North America. It wasn't. Okay? I hate pretending that the United States is responsible for all this progress. Japan was already killing it in terms of women's wrestling back in the freaking late 70s. So Come on, man. We could have, it's just one of those things where we could have always done better, and we didn't. We decided to take a completely different direction because I guess of what we were exposed to in North America. So a lot of Jerry Springer and women being sexualized, especially in the 90s. But Japan never got into that. It was always about the wrestling aspect. I mean, sure, the women could be sexy, but anyway, all that to say that it really makes you want to learn more about Joshi wrestling and about the history of women's wrestling. It didn't start in WWE. There's a lot more to women's wrestling than WWE. And another thing that was really cool about the show was that the way they filmed it was really interesting in the sense that it's not always obvious what's real and what's scripted. So as a viewer,
well, it's all scripted, but like you mean like what's embellished, like as
exactly.
Yeah.
So let's say when two women are wrestling in the ring, and you have the referee freaking out and the woman yelling at each other like really loud, and you can hear exactly what they say. As a viewer, you're kind of thinking, "What the heck? Are you trying to tell me that this is actually real?" It's not clear. Like, we know it's real because we're wrestling fans. But imagine a non-wrestling fan watching the show. They might look at that and say, "Oh, was that not supposed to happen? Did she really go too far?" You know what I mean? So that makes it really interesting.
Yeah. I think, going back to the Vince thing real quick, I've watched 2 episodes. And, I think the real purpose of the documentary, and this is where I think people need to be careful, okay, is look how bad Vince was. And they establish, I'm only 2 episodes in. I think there's 6 episodes or something.
Yeah.
They establish right away that Vince is giving false information, that he doesn't want to tell the real stories. He's talking off camera about, when he thinks he's not being recorded, about like, oh yeah, no, there's stories I can't even get into, blah, 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 blah. They show that he and Bruce Pritchard and certain people are lying about the WrestleMania attendance. And they've come out since the documentary aired to say that Vince isn't a reliable narrator. Well, no shit. However, Netflix has also got a stake in this, and it's a very big one. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's imperative of Netflix to make Vince look super bad, because everybody knows he's a bad guy, and make the people who still work for WWE look decent, like Triple H, like Bruce Pritchard, like these other people who still are there. So they have a stake in the game. This is not like some neutral party making a documentary about Vince McMahon. Okay. It started off as probably what would have been a lot more flattering view of Vince. And most of these things were recorded before these charges ever came to light. Obviously, Vince has been quoted saying some absolutely horrendous things. He's a terrible person. Let's be clear. Vince McMahon didn't just screw people over in business. He ruined people's lives. He assaulted women and he double-crossed a lot of people. Vince was an aggressor, and anytime somebody stood up to him, he played the victim, okay? Yep. He's a piece of shit who also happened to be incredibly successful because he's a sociopath in America, and global financial markets reward sociopaths. So let's just be clear about that, okay? The line from Donald Trump to Vince McMahon is very, very straight, okay? They're very similar types of people. And then, yes, with the Queen of Villains it's not a documentary, it's a series, dramatic series, but that's an era that I don't know a lot about, but I would like to know a lot more about. And Dump Matsumoto is like hugely influential on and the Crush Gals are hugely influential on what became All Japan Women's Wrestling, and kind of led into that 90s period where you had Bull Nakano and you had Manami Toyota, you had, these insanely well-regarded wrestlers who went on to become legends. Bull Nakano's in the WWE Hall of Fame. She went in this year. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see it. I talked to a friend who watched it who knew absolutely nothing about it, and he loved it. He thought it was great. Thought it was a little hard to watch because some of the training stuff that they show in it really reveals how brutal the training in Japan was, and kind of how there's this master-student relationship that cannot be, including being assaulted by your master, and you are not allowed to retaliate in any way. And then that for him, that was a little hard to watch at times, but said it was very, very good and very informative. So I'm definitely going to be watching it very soon, probably after Watchmen. That'll be the next thing I watch. So anyway, check it out. That's The Queen of Villains on Netflix. Hopefully it's available in your country if you're listening to this overseas. And, the Vince doc, I'm going to watch the whole thing eventually. But I did hear that Shane McMahon comes across, a lot more sympathetic than he has maybe at other times. So, it'll be very interesting to see it. So, that's what we've been watching. Are we ready to dig the fuck in?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So, AEW Dynamite turned 5 years old this week, Joshi G.
5 years already.
Incredible, right? And it's like 5 years already, and then in other ways it feels like 15 years. It's like Dynamite. I'm just going to put this out there. I already said it on Threads. To me, Dynamite is the greatest pro wrestling show ever. It's had the best televised pro wrestling in America that has ever happened. And some of the greatest angles and storylines ever have happened on Dynamite. When AEW was announced, it was New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, at midnight in 2019, January 1st, 2019, followed by a press conference a few days later. I was so stoked, right? Like they had said on Being the Elite, they were going to have a big announcement, a special episode. And I tuned in. I watched it live, or as soon as it was uploaded. And I was so excited. I couldn't believe, because there had been rumors that, Jim Ross and the Bucks and Hangman, potentially. Kenny wasn't mentioned super frequently because he was the IWGP heavyweight champion at the time. So he wasn't included in the rumors. Cody's name was being floated around.
But there was a lot of rumors about it, and even the mention of Tony Khan, who I had no idea who the fuck Tony Khan was at the time. But when it was revealed and they showed the logo, Hangman said, wait, I have something different on my phone here. And it showed the logo for All Elite Wrestling. I was so blown away that there was going to be a new wrestling promotion. And I was already such a huge fan of the Elite, such a big fan of New Japan. Just the idea of something different appealed to me so much. Then they do this press conference about a week later, I think, and they reveal that Jericho is going to be a part of it. And Pac comes out full gear. Pac comes out in his gear. And Jericho's kind of the big reveal of that one. You know, that was like mind-blowing that Chris Jericho was going to be a full-time wrestler again for somebody besides Vince. And that blew me away. What are your memories from that time, Joshi?
Oh my God. It was such an exciting time. I remember I was watching NJPW and I had heard that Kenny and the Bucks were leaving. And I was bummed at first, but then I saw that they were probably going to another promotion, and I read that the Bucks were starting a promotion with Tony Khan. I didn't know who Tony Khan was. There were so many rumors, but at the end of the day, it wasn't clear. I definitely didn't expect Chris Jericho to sign with AEW. That was such a huge surprise. And it was just really cool to know that there was going to be a second major wrestling promotion in the United States again. As a fan of WCW, it was such a bummer when there was only one big freaking option once they went out of business. That really sucked, and I'm so happy that we have AEW. And like, just in terms of memories, I mean, there's so many. Of course, the Hangman Page, Kenny Omega feud, that was legendary. I absolutely love Tony Storm, Mariah, their storyline. The tag team division, the first few years, oh my God, that division was the best I had ever seen at that point. I still remember Lucha Bros versus Young Bucks in the steel cage match.
Right. Oh, God. Yeah,
So
All
epic.
Out 2021, maybe?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe
that was
so.
2021. Yeah, in the cage.
2021.
Yep.
I remember when Sting showed up on Dynamite. What a special
God, yeah.
moment.
The
Did
first
not
winter is
expect
coming.
that. Yes.
Yep.
That was so epic. I remember loving the music, and I love seeing the snow. And on that very same episode, we had Kenny win the world title and turn heel. And
one of the greatest
wow.
television angles ever
Yeah.
was Kenny turning heel. He had kind of been starting to hint that there was something happening with him, but the way that they put him with Don Callis up to that point had been on pay-per-view and TV a few times as a guest commentator, but we all knew he was in TNA. You know, we all knew he was in Impact. And Kenny, you know, Don running down to ringside, and he happens to drop the mic. You know, he's telling Moxley to, you know, take it easy. You're going to kill this guy, you know. And Mox grabs Don, and Don drops the mic into the ring. Kenny grabs the mic and decks Moxley with it, and then hits the one-winged angel. That was the first time Moxley lost on TV, by the way.
Yes.
And he had been pretty much undefeated in AEW for about a year. And then for them to be like, we'll see you on Tuesday. And they're like, what do you mean Tuesday?
Right.
And they're like, not here on Impact. That was huge.
That was so freaking cool.
That was cool as hell. And started the Belt Collector saga.
The Belt Collector. You know what? To this day, Kenny Omega is my favorite AEW World Champion.
It's hard to argue.
You know what it is? His run was the most memorable. I still remember so much from his run as World Champion. Man, do you remember when Kenta showed up?
Yeah.
Another amazing moment, and finally we were getting the AEW New Japan partnership after wanting it for so long. Just so many amazing moments.
Remember when Kenny came
goodness.
up to Kenta and he was like, "Hey man, Bullet Club for life, too sweet." And Kenta's like, "Shut the fuck up." And Kenny's like, "All right, man, no problem,
Yes.
no problem."
Yes, that was so great.
That was so great. That was so great.
Yeah.
And you know, there's obviously the other obvious issue is this brand new promotion starts. They get off to mostly a great start. NXT is all of a sudden on a competitor, direct competitor, and they stomp them like bad. Didn't NXT only win one night in the ratings? Like one time?
About one. Yeah, I think it was about one time.
But I didn't realize AEW was on a week-to-week agreement with WBD. I mean, this was not like a guaranteed success, okay?
Right.
Tony Khan had the connections. I know people are tired of him right now, including me, okay? But Chris Jericho, it cannot be overstated how important he was to getting AEW a television deal and providing that credibility. And the truth is, I know people are not going to like to hear this at all. As popular as the Bucks were, as popular as Kenny Omega was, as popular as Cody Rhodes was, they were not known to anyone who wasn't a super inside wrestling fan, okay? Nobody knew who they were. And those guys are like the tippy top of the mountain to me, okay?
Yeah, well,
I say
it's
that
true,
as
though.
Kenny Omega's one of his very biggest fans, okay?
Careful.
I know.
You were gonna
I
say
knew.
you were his
I knew I was
biggest fan.
treading on a lot of thirsty ladies when I said that. But Kenny Omega, you know, he's my GOAT. Okay, so I'm saying that with all due respect. But John Moxley was a bigger star. Chris Jericho was a bigger star. And Moxley was not in yet when this was announced.
No.
And when they held that second press conference, Kenny Omega had announced that he was leaving New Japan after he dropped the belt at Wrestle Kingdom to Tanahashi. And I was like, they better announce that Kenny Omega's coming. Like, it still wasn't official. And they announced Kenny, and he came out. Him and Jericho end up having a face-off and end up having a little confrontation. My bestie got us tickets, and we went to Double or Nothing in Las Vegas. That first show, I saw Cody versus Dustin, which was awesome and terrifying because Dustin was bleeding so much during that match. Saw the Lucha Bros versus the Young Bucks. And for the very first time, I saw Kenny Omega wrestle live and lose to Chris Jericho. And then it is very rare that a debut is the highlight of a show for me. But when John Moxley came out, I do not think I have ever heard an arena explode like that, like to that degree, where everybody is freaking out. And Moxley posing on top of the poker chip is one of the most iconic moments in pro wrestling history to me.
Well, it's just so crazy that they've only been around for 5 years, and
that was 5 years ago.
And there's all these amazing moments that we can still remember today. Lots of moments, stand out.
Yeah, and I was in Chicago when Jericho beat Hanger to become the first AEW World Champion. I was there. I mean, how fucking cool.
So
right?
cool. Yeah.
And look at the lineage of that belt now. Look at the lineage of that belt. You've got Chris Jericho, John Moxley, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, CM Punk, whatever you think of the guy, he's a legend. Okay? MJF, Samoa Joe, Swerve, Bryan Danielson. Insane.
Insane, very insane.
Super crazy.
Yeah.
So you've got that. Then the fucking pandemic happens.
Yeah. I know.
6 months after, but not even 6 months after they launched, that we are locked in, quarantined.
Yeah.
And we get all this inventive, insane shit. Matt Hardy shows up. Brody Lee showed up. We get these the Cody Open Challenge. Look, Cody was never my main dude, but those Open Challenge matches introduced a lot of cool people. Eddie Kingston, Ricky Starks, You had Sammy Guevara getting hit by the fucking golf cart.
Oh, that was so funny.
You had the Inner Circle was like the big bad faction for a while in AEW. And there's all these people that aren't in AEW anymore that were on TV all the time for a while. You had Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. You had the Bunny, you know. Butcher and the Blade showed up and nobody knew who the hell they were.
Marco Stunt.
Marco Stunt. Yes.
Yeah, Jungle
That was
Express.
actually awesome when Marco came back and wrestled Jack Perry. That was really cool. Christian Cage shows up and everybody thinks it's a total bummer because it wasn't like Brock Lesnar or somebody. And then Christian Cage.
Oh man. How those same people regret that now.
I was stoked. I love Christian Cage. And I knew he would have to be a heel at some point because I always thought he was a very good heel.
One of my all-time favorites.
But this heel run he's on currently is his best work, in my opinion. You have the parking lot brawl with Best Friends and Santana and Ortiz. You know, you have all these incredible matches. Proud and powerful, right? And they AEW raised the bar for what television wrestling was, and I think whether you watch WWE or not, we have to go back to what was WWE like without AEW. It wasn't very good, guys. Roman Reigns was being pushed as a John Cena type babyface for years. Bray Wyatt, you know, I really enjoyed Bray Wyatt as a performer, but they never let him cut loose the way he wanted to. They never did. They always stop, start. And WWE was really Roman's playground, and it wasn't working. And I was in the IWC during that time. Even the people who swear by WWE today and tell you that AEW sucks didn't like WWE at that time. NXT was the thing a lot of us liked. And then AEW showed us what could be. And WWE has borrowed a lot from AEW specifically, especially since Vince left. Okay? And they're not tethered to being sports entertainment anymore. You know, people are freaking out. Oh, my God, they said pro wrestling on WWE. Yeah, well, they were saying it on AEW for years before that.
Exactly.
So, AEW has done nothing but generate more excitement. Do you remember when I remember reading stories on websites where, like, they were literally posting about Dolph Ziggler leaving a cryptic tweet that was quoting Motley Crue lyrics in this very passive-aggressive way. And they're like, do you think Dolph's unhappy in WWE? And that was the news that week.
I do remember that, yeah.
That was the news that week. That was the most significant thing that happened.
I do remember those days.
And now it's like every day, anything could happen. You know, even when it's bad for AEW, like when Cody Rhodes left, it was massive. That's massive news.
It was all over the place, yeah.
Yeah, and the CM Punk drama, as much as, like, I don't want to hear it anymore, like, that was massive. It's one of the biggest moments in the last 10 years of wrestling, right? Joshi, you know me, I'm ranting, so jump in.
Well, I was just going to say, remember the Lights Out match between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa?
Hell yeah. Oh, my God, the St. Patty's Day special show they did?
Yeah.
And Thunder Rosa was still an NWA talent.
Yeah. How insane is that?
That was crazy.
Tony had to buy out her contract.
Yeah. But you had these people, you know, you also had all these indie wrestlers who couldn't get work, and Tony's bringing them into Dark, and he's bringing them into these places. He gave people places to work when there were no places to work. He gave Eddie Kingston a shot on national TV who had never had it before. And God, I think that worked out okay.
Yeah. Anna Jay. Julia Hart.
Anna Jay had like 5 matches before she was on TV.
Exactly.
You know, Jade Cargill got a huge contract from WWE, but Tony Khan's the one who took the risks with her, you know, and more power to her. Good for you, Jade, you know. So AEW has brought so much good to the pro wrestling business. They employ hundreds of people. They people in production they have employed. They have brought us matches we never thought we would see. Let's be real. We just watched Bryan Danielson wrestle Nigel McGuinness in Arthur Ashe Stadium.
Think about it.
That is crazy.
I know.
Listen to the crowd at the first Arthur Ashe show, at the first Grand Slam when the bell rings and Kenny Omega standing across from Bryan Danielson.
What an epic match. Oh, my God.
It's one of my favorite moments in wrestling, period.
Same here. Yeah, of
and
course.
It's just when the bell rings and Kenny's trying to be a heel and he's like trying not to smile because he's fucking pumped, you know?
Yeah.
And then this, and all the way up to this year, where like you have this incredible genius, Tony Storm, taking timeless Tony Storm and just jumping on a rocket ship. This woman was going viral all over social media this week with these awesome fucking promos that she cut about her trip to CMLL. She's wrestling Mayu Iwatani. Her and Mina, who are like buddies.
Yeah. Does Mariah know?
Does Mariah know? I literally posted, I hope Mariah doesn't know about this and tagged Mariah. So I'm pretty sure Mariah does know and she's playing coy, but we'll see.
Of course.
We'll see. But the bottom line is I wanted to spend some time this episode just talking about 5 years of AEW. How whatever my complaints may be about AEW, booking or whatever, and there will be more in this episode, unfortunately. They are what has kept me so invested in pro wrestling. I would say I'm a bigger fan of pro wrestling now than I've ever been in my life. And I've been watching this shit since I was 9 years old. You know, this show kept me sane during the pandemic. It was one place where I could regularly just check in. And I knew something good was coming up every week. You know, I remember when John Huber, Brody Lee, passed away very unexpectedly. And I remember that amazing tribute show that they did for him.
Best tribute show ever.
One of the best episodes of pro wrestling ever. It was fantastic. I remember fucking El Hijo del Vikingo wrestling Kenny.
Oh, wow. That was so good.
Last year.
Yeah.
Don turning on Kenny in the cage in a match with Mox. Kenny missing that V-trigger and crotching himself on the cage. Holy shit. Danielson coming back, looking like he's going to make the save for Kenny and then double-crossing him and starting that BCC Elite feud. You know? Like...
so many good moments.
Punk and MJF in Chicago. MJF beats Punk in Chicago. Unbelievable. Incredible stuff.
So incredible.
Eddie and Punk's promo battle. It was on Rampage technically, but still.
Eddie and Mox, their rivalry was awesome.
Oh my God. Amazing. The Continental Classic.
Sheeta's reign as women's champion.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. The debut of Mercedes Moné at Big Business this year.
Yeah,
Will Ospreay. Kazuchika Okada coming out looking like he's going to make the save to run the Bucks off and then turning heel on Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
And then the revelation that has been Kazuchika Okada as a heel in the Elite on American television each and every week. Incredible. That guy can do one bitch in a promo and like it's worth it to me. Like even if he doesn't wrestle, I'm so glad he was on the show, you know?
It just always works.
It just always works. He's got incredible timing, Okada. Like he's
very charismatic.
But like Forbidden Door. Just that entire concept.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen Jay White wrestles on American television now.
I know. And remember when he showed up? That was really shocking because everyone was saying he was going to WWE.
Yeah.
So I definitely didn't expect that. That was huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And, we just regularly, we are so, people say spoiled. I would say AEW just upped the ante for what televised wrestling should be, because we as fans do deserve it. Okay.
Of course we do.
That's why I don't say we're spoiled, because we're finally getting something that we deserve. And AEW and WWE has really upped their game. Impact, or TNA, I'm sorry, has really upped their game. New Japan is doing pretty good, you know? And it's all happening at once now. It's not like rah, rah, rah for like a month or two and then it goes right back down.
Exactly.
And that doesn't happen without AEW. They were the disruptors. I don't give a fuck if they're ever as profitable as WWE.
Why does it even matter anyway?
Sign their new media rights deal. They announced it this week, finally.
Thank goodness, so we can drop this topic soon.
The grifters like Jim Cornette and Eric Bischoff and Conan.
Crying and puking.
They look so stupid. Even Meltzer went off on these guys.
Good.
They look stupid as fuck. That's the thing.
The business experts.
The people talking about attendance. The people talking about cable ratings. In January, Dynamite is going to be simulcast on fucking Max.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Nielsen doesn't even matter anymore. The Nielsen rating, I mean, there might be like 400,000 people watching Dynamite on Nielsen on cable. And the rest of them are watching on Max, It doesn't even matter
really
anymore.
Yeah. Finally,
and now,
man.
Max has 100 million subscribers who can check out AEW now without the pain of like having to get cable or YouTube TV or Sling or whatever, or going to some site that's going to give you a bunch of viruses, So this is a really celebratory, incredible moment in the history of pro wrestling, if you ask me. And I am so happy as a fan of AEW to know that they have 3 years guaranteed with WBD with an option for a fourth. They are profitable now. They are the second most profitable wrestling company in the history of pro wrestling, period. End of story.
Exactly.
Hats off to you.
We're going to get a lot of awesome content. Still lots of great stuff to come.
So much. You know that's true. So,
yes.
With that said, Joshi, are we ready to move on to Dynamite?
Yeah, let's do this. Let's go.
Bam! All right. Well, this was the big 5-year anniversary episode of Dynamite this week. And it started out with a very creepy promo from the new Blackpool Combat Club. It was directed towards Yuta. It was very much like, come out, Yuta, we just want to talk kind of promo. But they're all kind of like, hey, man, just make your decision. You can leave if you want. Just tell us what's going on. Just tell us what's going on. It was creepy as hell.
Well, unfortunately, iBlade, what happened was that my IPTV wasn't working. So I missed that. And now I'm annoyed that I missed it. So I'll have to watch that.
You were a little
after.
quiet. I was like, okay.
Yeah, damn it. It's because my IPTV wasn't working. So I went to my mom's and watched most of Dynamite. So I missed that, and I missed a couple of minutes of the Ospreay Ricochet match. But now I want to watch that segment.
Yeah, no, it's probably just on YouTube at this point, so you could probably just watch it there. But Ricochet versus Ospreay kicked off the night. This is what I'm talking about. Like, this is insane. Like, we got Will Ospreay versus Ricochet on a fucking weekly wrestling show.
Dude, Ricochet is absolutely freaking incredible.
Yeah.
He looked as good as Ospreay in that match. This is the Ricochet that I remember from Lucha Underground and from New Japan. Big time. This is what I wanted to see.
It's so funny. I saw clips of it on Threads, and like the haters are just piling up to fucking shit all over this. And it's so funny because they all say the same exact things. Like, well, they look like they're moving in slow motion now. They're really wearing their age. It's like, guys, they're both bigger than they were back in 2016.
Yeah.
You know, like, they're not moving in slow motion. You couldn't do one of these fucking things. They did like 50 of them. It was a cool ass match with a really stupid finish. So after these guys have a 20-ish minute epic, somehow Ospreay hits the hidden blade on Ricochet, falls on top of him back first, and both of their shoulders are down, and the ref starts counting and counts to 3. Double pins are stupid. Okay? I'm just going to say that. It's not how you... Whatever they were trying to do to show that they're on equal ground, there's a different way to do it. Like this, anybody who's pretending that AEW invented this, you're wrong. Okay? This has existed in wrestling forever. When both guys' shoulders are down, you should not be counting 3. Like,
yeah,
somebody has to get up and then you count 3. You know, somebody has to get their shoulders off the mat, then you start counting 3. Will Ospreay was on top of Ricochet, but his shoulders were also down. It didn't make any sense.
No.
So then, you know, the two guys start rallying the crowd and the ref to restart the match, and they do. And then immediately, Konosuke Takeshita, for some reason, a guy who seemed to be entangled with Kazuchika Okada, interferes and ends up being a no contest. Weird.
It made no freaking sense. Why are you teasing Okada Takeshita?
Yeah.
Who are two heels, by the way.
Right.
For weeks. Yet on Dynamite, not only do you have this really weird finish to the Ospreay Ricochet match, but you continue it for like a minute.
Yep.
And Takeshita stops it. It was just really strange. And the thing about it too, is that wasn't the only screwy finish on Dynamite. There were so many.
Well, and I was just gonna say, the week before, the Young Bucks interfered in a match and got a DQ. I don't want to see this become a trend, Tony. Like, AEW's reputation is we don't do a lot of that, and it's starting to happen more often, and I don't like it.
I agree with you.
I didn't expect that the match would end with a like definitive finish. I really didn't. I thought somebody might squeak out a win. I thought maybe Ricochet turns heel. I thought, you know, there could have been all kinds of ways to do it. But this is not the way you get there. And I honestly have no idea what the fuck is going on with Okada and Takeshita, but it feels like they just changed the fucking plan this week because they wanted to go there for WrestleDream, and they did announce that the 3 of these guys are going to be in a triple threat at WrestleDream. So, okay. Great match, dumb finish. That's all I can say.
Agreed, yeah.
We immediately go to a bad segment.
It's true.
Unfortunately, you know, so first off, there is a Mercedes Moné. Quick kind of, hi, how you doing? I haven't been on the show. Got to get her on the 5th anniversary of Dynamite backstage thing. MVP shows up, gives her his business card. Confusing? Yes.
Well, I mean, they were acting like she was part of the elite. So why would she be with MVP all of a sudden? What happened?
Right. What's going on with Okada?
Now? I don't know. I mean, they were like really close, and he clearly has an on-screen crush on her.
Yeah.
So now, why would she even consider, you know, accepting MVP's services when she's tied to the elite? Anyway, that was confusing to me.
That was confusing. I really enjoyed MVP so far in AEW.
Course, but
his promos have been awesome, but
make it make sense.
Make it make sense, and it doesn't right now. And something that made even less sense is, why would you have the learning tree this early in a Dynamite show?
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Really, really, this gimmick is, to me, it's over.
It's over.
The only thing this gimmick can do at this point is get Big Bill and Brian Keith to turn on Jericho, because otherwise, like, I have no interest in it. And while people have ridiculed Chris Jericho pretty relentlessly for about a year, I have been one of his biggest defenders because Jericho is one of the greatest of all time. As a wrestler, I'm not defending the man, okay? But he is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. I don't think that's even debatable. But man, this gimmick peaked 2 months ago, and it has just been bad ever since. This feud with the conglomeration is going nowhere.
Yeah.
And they eventually get, or who was it? Orange Cassidy? I mean, I don't even fucking remember anymore. Orange Cassidy, Rocky, Mark Briscoe, blah, 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 come out. Jericho sets up a match with Briscoe at WrestleDream. All of a sudden, he wants to win the Ring of Honor title and become the Nueve. No.
So why doesn't he go to Ring of Honor?
Why are we defending the Ring of Honor world title on a pay-per-view? An AEW pay-per-view? It's not a title anyone cares about.
Well, it's lost all of its significance at this point. If it's hardly going to be defended and the ROH world champion is going to lose regularly, then what the hell is the point?
If you want to have Mark Briscoe on Dynamite, then have him on Dynamite, and whoever the hell is going to be your Ring of Honor champion, have him on Ring of Honor, but not the same place. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Mark Briscoe's on AEW Dynamite more than he's on Ring of Honor. The belt means nothing right now.
No.
And I don't see that changing anytime soon, unfortunately.
iBlade, real quick. I just have a message for Tony Khan. I'm looking at you. Nobody likes this freaking Jericho gimmick. Nobody wants Chris Jericho on TV right now. Just write him off, for crying out loud. But, like, what is it going to take, man? It's starting to get frustrating.
It's starting to feel Vincey, where it's like, oh, you don't want this? Well, I'm going to give you more.
Yeah, we don't want it. We want Jericho to take a break. Why is it so hard to understand?
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Next match. Let's,
So basically, it ends with Jericho telling Briscoe he wants a shot at his belt at WrestleDream. Blah, and then making some really shitty comments about Jay Briscoe, which feel completely forced. And like, one, I don't like using dead people as heat. And two, even if they were going to do that, it doesn't make sense to do it the way they did it. It felt fake. It didn't feel real. And I think that's a disrespect to Jay. I don't like this.
Me neither.
We have a very good Hangman versus Juice Robinson match. Went a lot longer than I thought it would. They beat the shit out of each other for a long time before they ever got in the ring. And, Juice got some vengeance back by using the belt on old Hanger there. Hanger ends up winning the match with a low blow to Juice. And what I was hoping would happen did happen, in that Hanger tries to hang Juice. He does for a minute. And then whose music should hit is his old music, no less. Jay White.
Yay,
the Switchblade
back.
Runs down looking very energized and beats the shit out of Hangman Page. Very babyface-ish appearance by the Switch.
It was.
Throws Hangman through a table. I pray to Jesus Christ that they are setting this up for WrestleDream. They didn't say that particularly. Jay cut a promo after the show that should have probably been on the show, honestly.
Right. I was thinking the same thing. Why would you not put this on the show?
Go watch the exclusive stuff on YouTube, guys. Jay's promo is fucking great. It's as good as anything he's cut in AEW. A lot, really, really high energy, high intensity stuff. He kind of says, look, I don't care about your problems. You're an asshole. And you threw me off my path, and I'm coming for you because I want to be AEW world champion. That's what I want to hear out of Jay White. I don't want to hear anything else. Like, tell me how you're going to be the champion, because I would, you know what? If it's not going to be Swerve, I would love it if Jay White was the guy who retired Bryan Danielson. He could use it. So there was that. Also, Serena Deeb and Britt Baker had a very good match. Britt looked the best she's looked in the ring since she came back, honestly. I thought this was quite a bit better than the match with Mercedes. And again, I think it's Britt finding her sea legs. Obviously, Serena Deeb is a great wrestler. Britt gets the win with submission with the lockjaw, and then Deeb turns on her, or attacks her after the match, is beating her ass, and whose music should hit? Queen Aminata.
The one and only.
Queen Aminata. Runs down to the ring, makes the save. Love seeing Aminata in AEW. If they had kept her in ROH and she was going to be the one to dethrone Athena, which she's clearly not now, I would have understood that. But I think they've made the decision to push her up to Dynamite. And so, she makes the save for Britt. I'm still not convinced that Aminata is not going to turn on Britt to join up with Deeb, because they had teased so much of, I can teach you some stuff, blah, 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 blah. What do you think, Joshi?
Well, I just want to comment real quick on Hangman versus Juice. Well, more the aftermath. I mean, the match was very good, but I am so happy that Jay White is back. I love him. Me too. I love that the crowd reacted very well to him. And honestly, he needs to become the AEW World Champion next year. He deserves a huge singles push. As for Britt versus Deeb, I agree with you. I thought that Britt looked a lot better in this match. Definitely the best match of her since returning from her injury and all that. And yeah, I'm really glad that Aminata came out to save her. I love Queen Aminata. I agree with you. If she's not going to be the one to dethrone Athena, then might as well put her on Dynamite and have her give us amazing matches there, because she is absolutely incredible. And I wouldn't be opposed to her joining Serena Deeb at some point. I think that could be interesting. Also, Mariah May, was in the crowd watching the match. No idea what that signifies. Perhaps Baker will be her opponent down the line. I don't know. But anyway, just thought I would mention that.
Yeah, and I think Britt needs more wins before I want to see that match.
Right. Me too.
Maybe that's a Full Gear thing that they're shooting for at some point. Mariah and Willow have a segment together that was pretty volatile. They
I
called
love
each other
when
bitches.
Willow gets upset. Yeah,
I do too. I like Angry Willow.
She's really good as Angry Willow.
And again, Mariah and Willow are polar opposites of each other, and I like that. I think that they are natural rivals, and hopefully they're building that up for WrestleDream. They did not officially announce that yet, in addition to the many things that they have not officially announced yet. Private Party came out and basically murdered the Iron Savages. Made no sense whatsoever. It was like a minute-long match designed to give Private Party some promo time. They called out the Young Bucks. They said, we've been calling you out forever. Not really.
Yeah, what do they mean forever?
Last time I saw Private Party, they were getting their ass beat by the Blackpool Combat Club. They wrestled last week on Dynamite, which also made no sense because Zay had gotten his hand smashed by Moxley the week before that.
Right.
So, I was complaining about this. I will be honest. I was complaining about it very, very outwardly on Threads, and somebody said that they felt, honest disagreement, they felt that Private Party has been built up because they've been on TV a lot. They haven't been winning matches, okay?
Well, that's the problem.
Private Party have been treated, to me, as enhancement talent, borderline enhancement talent, okay? It looks like they are building this up. I would have hoped for Title Tuesday, but that hasn't been announced, nor have any title matches been announced. But I'm fearful that this is going to happen in WrestleDream, and that this Private Party does not feel like they should be on a pay-per-view right now to me. They don't feel like they've earned that naturally. They're trying to heat them up and make them feel legit in a way that doesn't feel natural. Joshi, your thoughts?
Well, I have to agree with you, friendo. If they thought of this in advance, which they clearly didn't, then Private Party would have started picking up wins. These guys have been losing for a while, and it doesn't make any sense that they get a title shot right now. No sense at all. I would actually give a title shot to the Outrunners before Private Party right now, because at least they're over and they picked up a freaking win.
They generate excitement.
And they generate excitement. Also, I looked at the collision card and I noticed that it's going to be Private Party versus Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews versus Top Flight. And I imagine that Private Party is probably going to beat those two teams. But yeah, like if that happens, it makes absolutely no sense. They have no business beating them. House of Black, Top Flight have been winning for the most part.
Well, and they've been on the shows a lot.
Yeah. Shouldn't one of those teams get a title shot before Private Party? I don't know.
This just hasn't been built well. Jack Perry attacked Private Party after the match. Katsuyori Shibata makes the save, and then Christopher Daniels comes out, has the bright idea to make a match with the Young Bucks and Jack Perry versus Shibata and Private Party on Rampage. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much
I mean,
how
okay.
I feel too. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, all right, whatever. MVP and Prince Nana are backstage. Prince Nana's pretty pissed off at MVP. Nana says, you forget I was a wrestler, and you know what? I'd put the boots back on to fight you. And MVP, I love MVP. Like, what he's doing right now is so good, okay? And he goes, that sounds like a complaint, and I don't handle complaints. And Nana's like, what are you talking about? Who handles complaints? And MVP goes, well, he does. And he points behind Nana, and the camera flips around, and it is Shelton Benjamin looking dapper as hell in a plaid suit.
He's here.
And it is increasingly clear who is showing up in AEW. So,
you don't say.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Who could it be?
Lashes?
It was confirmed this week that he is already signed to AEW. Yeah. But the only thing I would say about the Hurt Syndicate, I do like on Threads, there's a lot of people calling it like the Hurt LLC, the Hurt S Corp, the Hurt sole proprietorship. Anything but the Hurt business, basically. But Lashley's clearly showing up. They have some involvement with Swerve. Not sure when that's happening. They've made an overture to Mercedes Moné, and we were saying like it didn't make a lot of sense to divert her from the Elite, but in another sense, Bobby Lashley's 48 years old.
Is he? Holy
crap. He is, and Shelton Benjamin is 49 years old. Okay, like they got to bring these guys in and make them a big deal right away. Because they're getting up there. Like, look, they do have Chris Jericho on their show every single fucking week.
Oh, my God, but it's excessive.
But it's excessive, and you don't want to make the same fucking mistakes. So they've got to get younger talent involved with these guys. So getting Moné, kind of would be to their advantage. I've seen some other people talking about Hobbs being a part of it. Also, we were kind of like, don't put all the black wrestlers just with MVP.
Yeah.
But at the same time, these guys are not young kids, Like, they're not going to wrestle every week. So if you want them to mean something, MVP could get Will Hobbs over in a way that I don't think anybody else successfully has.
Yeah.
Because he's showing it to me on the mic every single week. Also, they're teasing Stokely Hathaway having an interest in Private Party, which we didn't mention, which, could be good, but
well, what about Statlander and Stokely?
Yeah, what about Stat? Like, it's not making a lot of sense to me right now.
No.
But anyway, this was a great segment with MVP and Nana. Really loved it. Nana continues to just frustrate, MVP continues to just frustrate Nana. And it's kind of nice to see Nana get his goat gotten. And he really is like a true babyface now, Nana.
I love Prince Nana so much.
He's the greatest. He's the greatest.
He really is.
And then we get our main event. It's Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada in what I would consider the worst of their three matches. Not that it wasn't good. It was very good. Part of this, I think, was about expectations. Tony Khan had posted earlier in the night that there would be a substantial overrun.
Yep.
You're kind of thinking it's the 5th anniversary of Dynamite. There's this weird cryptic shit going on with Moxley. There's all these rumors going around about Shane McMahon. it would be kind of like fitting for it to happen the day they announced the rights renewal, right? And it's just a solid match from Kazuchika Okada and Danielson. It was nowhere near as like, they didn't go as hard as they did at their first or second match. And I'm just going to say the match ends with Claudio and Pac distracting Okada, who had Danielson beat. Like beat. And then he gets distracted by Claudio, and Bryan Danielson beat him with a backslide. Kazuchika Okada's first loss in AEW happened to Bryan Danielson with a backslide. What?
I didn't like it. I thought that was bullshit. I honestly expected Okada to be undefeated until the Continental Classic tournament.
Yeah, me too.
And I thought Takeshita was going to be the one to beat him and to win that belt. And it seemed perfect. It was fitting. I don't know what the hell changed. But now that Okada already lost, it takes away that moment. And that really sucks. I don't know what they were thinking.
If you're going to give his first loss to somebody on Dynamite, do it with somebody who could use it. Danielson doesn't need it. This match got announced like 1 day before or 2 days before. And what it feels like right now is there's a lot of hot-shotting happening right now.
It definitely feels that way.
Are a bunch of people injured? Are a bunch of people just not available that were supposed to be available?
I don't know. A lot of stuff feels random. And, I hate that feeling. So I was watching Dynamite. At first, I felt really pumped, excited. I mean, we had such a great opening match. Mm-hmm. But I would say by the middle of it, I just started to feel like, you know what, this isn't a 5-year anniversary show. I don't feel it at all. And I just started to question a lot of things, and I felt confused, and I was questioning the booking a lot, and I hate when that happens, but sadly, I felt that way. Like, to me, this wasn't a 9 out of 10 episode or 8.5. It was like a 7.5.
This just didn't land the way I thought they would for a show that was this important. Basically, from the minute Takeshita interfered,
yes,
the show started like losing energy to me because it became more baffling as it went along. And, last week we talked about this build to WrestleDream not being very coherent. And I thought maybe this week things would kind of come into focus. And they got more confusing, actually. So after the match, Claudio and Pac move in on Danielson. They're holding him back. Moxley comes in with Marina Shafir, tells Danielson, you think I'm doing this for me? You think I'm just being an egomaniac, being selfish? None of this is for me. We're fighting a bigger battle here. And if I was doing this for me, I would have put you out years ago. Blah, blah, blah. And then Yuta runs down with a hammer.
When Mox said that he's not doing this for him, he's fighting for something way more than himself, I thought Shane was going to come out.
You would have thought.
It made perfect sense. And
or something big would happen right there.
Yeah. And I remember feeling pissed off because Wheeler Yuta comes out. And I'm like, okay, there's a couple of minutes left. Is this it? But anyway, go on. I just wanted to tell you that really freaking pissed me off.
And I didn't think Shane had to show up. Like,
right.
There's, and this is what I'm saying about expectations, right? Where it's like, I just thought something notable would happen. Like, I have done this to myself before where I am positive something for sure is going to happen. You guys have even heard us on the podcast before talking about this. I was so sure Swerve was wrestling Danielson at WrestleDream. Okay. I did that to myself. Okay. I booked myself into that. And my disappointment is my fault. Okay. But on this show, it didn't feel that way. It felt like a lot of the show, honestly, the crowd was kind of dead.
Yeah, they weren't very good. I agree.
And Pittsburgh is usually a good crowd.
Yeah.
So they were allowed for Britt. But aside from that, after Ricochet and Ospreay, they kind of just petered out.
Oh, I felt the same. It definitely didn't help.
And so when Yuta runs out with the hammer, you're thinking they're going to do something like Yuta's going to do something. And they really set it up where you thought Yuta might hit Danielson with a hammer,
Yeah,
which would be a big deal.
Would've. Yeah.
That would have been a big deal. And then Yuta announces for Title Tuesday that he and Danielson will be fighting Pac and Claudio. What?
And that's how the show ends.
And that's how the show ended.
It
Like,
was
what?
so underwhelming.
It was very underwhelming. Yeah, I mean, that's just the truth. I just didn't think it was that good of a show.
I agree with you. I felt the same way.
It's not that I don't love AEW, guys. It's just that when they screw the pooch, you got to say something.
Agreed.
At least as you know, when you have a podcast, I can't just blow smoke up their ass all the time. This wasn't as good as it should have been. Period. It just I've seen great Dynamites. This was not it.
Nope. It wasn't.
So anyway, Joshi, I think we should come clean. We both know the spoilers for Collision.
Right. But we will not.
We will not spoil it
that.
for you all.
No.
Okay. But that leads us into our next segment about WrestleDream. Okay. Well, it's time to talk about WrestleDream, and this is confusing. Currently for WrestleDream, what we know for sure we're getting is Mox versus Danielson for the world title in the main event. They announced a match that I'm very stoked about, which is Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita versus Ricochet.
Should be good.
That's going to be a very good match. It has to be. That's the match I'm probably, from an in-ring perspective, the most excited about. Jack Perry versus Katsuyori Shibata, which had Shibata been on television for any significant length of time or presented as a real threat of any kind. The last time he was on TV in a match was at All In Wembley. And Shibata loses anytime he's really booked in a high-profile match.
Great.
It kind of feels like a Dynamite match to me. And I hate saying that. Shibata deserves better is the point.
Of course. But, I mean, last year at WrestleDream, you could feel NJPW's presence.
Right.
Because WrestleDream was meant for to be a celebration of Antonio Inoki's life.
Right.
So far, nobody from New Japan.
Now, Shibata was loved by Inoki. Shibata knew Inoki well, So, there is some crossover there. Bryan Danielson was training in the New Japan dojo in the early 2000s with Nakamura. So, he has a lot of ties there. Jack Perry was just in New Japan. Chris Jericho versus Mark Briscoe in a match that is going to sell shitloads of pay-per-view buys.
Oh, yeah.
And wouldn't even get me excited to see on a Dynamite. This match, do not announce this match. This is like the last match that you announce, okay? It's just not compelling.
I don't care about this match at all.
At all. Darby Allin announced on Dynamite that he'll challenge anyone. What does that mean?
Whatever. I don't know. Could be a good match, but again,
I will
why
say
an open challenge? I don't know.
They at least revealed who it is before the show. You will find out if you watch Collision, so do that. But I don't want to sound like I'm being too negative. They did announce that Brian Cage will face Atlantis Jr. for the ROH television title on the pre-show.
Sweet.
Woo!
That
Yes!
should be fun. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. And then the matches that are kind of maybes that are hanging out there right now. It seems pretty clear they're building to Private Party versus the Young Bucks.
I'm sure that's going to happen at this point.
Unless it happens on Title Tuesday.
Yeah.
Not a pay-per-view match.
Agreed.
Just for all the reasons that we've already gone over. Mariah May versus Willow has been strongly hinted at, and I really hope that that happens because that would make me feel a lot more positive about this show.
I think it will.
Yeah.
It's looking that way at least.
Jay White versus Hangman.
Book it.
Strongly. Like, if you book that match and the Willow Mariah May match, look, I feel a lot better about this show. Okay? Yeah. That's just, but do not fuck around. Like, do not tease Jay versus Hangman and then not book it for this pay-per-view, which desperately needs better matches for this show.
I'm with you, buddy.
And what's going on with Okada?
I thought he was gonna wrestle Takeshita. I don't fucking know.
This is a Antonio Inoki tribute show, and you don't have Okada booked yet? What the fuck? Like, that's just straight up stupid. What's going on with Mercedes Moné? It's strongly hinted at on Collision. So watch Collision.
And that is all.
And you will be confused, but the actual thing that they're hinting at, while confusing, will be good if they do it. So, AEW feels like kind of a mess right now, booking-wise. It just overall, like, it's not even just this, it's all based around one story, and it feels like they have massively shuffled the deck from what their original plans, whatever they were going to be. But since All Out, AEW is not making a ton of sense on from a booking perspective.
You know what, Blade? We discussed this yesterday, I believe. I had said that after All Out, there wasn't as much of a focus on the woman. We'd get the match, and we wouldn't really get any backstage segments for a while. Mm-hmm. And I was starting to get a little bit worried. But then I told myself, okay, maybe it's because they've booked one big show after another, and there's just too much going on. Now that I'm thinking about it, Mercedes Moné was away for almost, a month? It feels like?
No, she was away for like 2 weeks.
Was it only 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, it felt longer than that. But yeah, she was away. And then Chris wasn't there, and we found out today that she was injured. Mm-hmm. And then there's Thunder Rosa, who unfortunately had a concussion. So that might explain what happened with the women's division, now that I'm thinking about it. Because they probably had plans for Stylander and Rosa, but unfortunately they got injured. I know Rosa should be back sooner than later. Mercedes, I have no idea why she was away, but she's back now. I guess maybe she had already had this planned time off. I don't know. We've seen this before, though, with AEW when it comes to the women's division. You see some progress for a little while, then they revert back. So I was like, no. But I kept having to remind myself that, no, Mercedes is there now, not happening. The women are, getting a lot of viewers to tune in. So it's looking that way now, and I feel a lot better about it. That's what I figured, but still.
The probably most mature way to look at this is they are banking this entire show, WrestleDream, around Moxley and Danielson.
They are.
They better have something really good. That's all I got to say. That's all I can say. Because if that story ends up being really good and there's like a big reveal or something, and I'm tired of listening to John Moxley talking riddles.
Oh, yeah, that too. Come on, man. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
But it might be a pay-per-view where it's going to be more about the returns and the debuts and a little bit less about the wrestling. I mean,
while I'm sure the matches will be good, the stories don't appear to be making a lot of sense. And
they're confusing.
I really hope AEW gets their shit together after WrestleDream, because right now it's kind of too late for them to get it together before. So we'll see. But anyway, folks, I love AEW. I want them to get their shit together. Tony Khan, you're a mess right now. Figure it out. But until the next episode, next week we will have a preview of WrestleDream, and hopefully we will have better news to report. But until then, I'm Blade Daly.
I'm Joshi G. Smile. Be happy.
What?
I don't know. I just felt like saying that, but
Pro wrestling forever.
Yes.
Goodbye.